Hello, my friend. I pray that this finds you well. Just coming in with a quick Sunday reflection. So, earlier at church, our assistant pastor taught from the story of the prodigal son. Yes, the prodigal son, the one who went to his father and said, "Give me all the inheritance that is mine." He went out, squandered it all, and it was not long before he found himself eating together with swine. And scripture says that a point in time came when he came back to his senses and he said, "Wait a minute, isn't the lowliest of servants in my father's house living better than I am?" And he made up his mind that he would go back to his father and he would not even ask to be a son anymore, but just to be let back in as a servant. To his surprise, however, when he got home, father not only welcomed him with open arms, but he threw a big bash for him and reinstated him, or restored him, if you will, to his place of sonship. Now, I want to approach this story from a slightly different angle, if you will let me. You see, as our assistant pastor was sharing, it hit me that the prodigal son was already in an environment of abundance, opulence, and opportunity. But he chose to focus on scarcity, on the illusion that he was missing out, and there was something out there that only if he could get, he would finally be satisfied. Now, it's interesting that my mind took me back to the story of the very first man and woman, Adam and Eve, in the Garden of Eden. Have you ever thought about the fact that the very first sin they committed was centered around scarcity? You see, they too were in an environment, a garden, full of opulence, abundance, and opportunity. They could eat freely from every tree in the garden. But the enemy got them to focus on scarcity, on the very one tree that they were not to eat from. And he put in them the illusion that they were missing out, and that if only they could eat from this one tree, then they could be like God. Have you ever thought about the fact that they were already like God, for they had been created in the image of God? They already had the very abundance that they lost to seek after a counterfeit out there. Now, you and I might be quick to wonder why the prodigal son and Adam and Eve really missed it. But the funny thing is that the enemy tempts you and I in exactly the same way. Isn't it funny that we tend to feel dissatisfied and have this illusion that if only we can become this next thing, or achieve this next achievement, or have this next possession, then our lives will finally be satisfied? But if you have lived long enough, I pray that you have realized that there is no perceived there and then that can satisfy us if we don't find contentment in our here and now. Because no sooner than we arrive at the there and then, we find ourselves still empty and void, and all of a sudden we set our sights onto the next perceived there and then, and the process repeats itself again. Now, if you followed me for any length of time, you know that I'm all about us being everything that we can be, and doing everything that we can do, and having everything that God has ordained for us. But if we chase after those things from a place of emptiness and a need to be satisfied, we will always fall short. However, if we realize that all the abundance that we seek is not only present, we not only have it, but are actually that abundance beings created in the image of God, then we can manifest all that we are, not from a place of emptiness seeking to be filled, but from a place of fullness, seeking to express what is in us from a place of overflow. Not from a place where we are seeking to get, but from a place where we are seeking to give. And here's the cool news, my friend, that no matter how far our minds take us into the illusion of missing out, or how deep our minds sink us as we wallow in the pits of scarcity, if, like the prodigal son, we will come to our senses and become present and aware of the abundance that is already with us, we will find the arms of the Father and all the abundance that He brings ready to connect and restore us. That's it, my friend. May God bless you and walk in the abundance that you already have and are, not in a perceived there and then, but in your here and now. Have a great week. Bye-bye.